This broadcast is Russian affairs expert Fred Weir, who is joining us live from Moscow. Fred has spent 20 years reporting on all the issues relating Russia. Now, Fred, welcome to Beyond. Thanks for sharing your views. Russian Prime Minister has now tested positive for the coronavirus. The number of cases has surged past 100,000, but the deaths per million continues to be relatively low in Russia as compared to other hard-hit countries. Is there a sense of panic growing now in Russia?
No, people are, of course, anxious, and the whole country is in lockdown. The city of Moscow is completely closed. I can't enter the city. I live in a village outside of Moscow. You need to have a special permit, a digital code on your telephone. Your car has to be registered, or you can't move in the city at all, except for specific purposes like, walking your dog or buying groceries. But there isn't any sense of panic. And so far, the shops, the grocery shops are well stocked. Everything, they have everything. That's important to Russians. And then there's law and order, but it is getting worse, and this is a huge country, and it's clearly spreading out of Moscow to the provinces. And we're on the upward swing, as you said, more cases being reported every day. The rate of growth is rising, which means we have not reached the peak, probably far from it. The lockdown in Moscow will continue till May the 11th. And probably it will be extended because the situation is pretty grim.
Absolutely. So, some people around the world have questioned the figures that are emerging from Russia. Even though the number of infections have gone beyond 100,000, the number of deaths per million is far lower than other hard-hit countries like Spain or Italy. So some have doubted the figures in Russia. What's the sense inside Russia at the moment?
Well, I think the figures are accurate. I mean, statistical jiggery could not account for the difference between Russia, which has a death rate of 1%, roughly 1% per million confirmed cases, and France, whose rate is 14%. Italy is also something like 14%. The United States is 6%. You cannot fudge statistics to that extent. And it's also a fact that almost all of Eastern Europe in the former Soviet world have much lower death rates than Western Europe. I don't know how to explain that. I saw an old Russian medical scientist on TV the other night suggesting, not insisting, just suggesting that it might be down to the tuberculosis vaccine, a CGT vaccine, which even to this day, Russian kids get it. My own kids were vaccinated, but was long since discontinued in Western Europe and North America. Might be something like that. Something to do not with the great response of the Russian government or that Putin's a genius or anything like that, but just some actuarial fact like that.
Right. Right. So it's great news that the number of deaths per million is still relatively low in Russia. So even as the numbers of infections are spiking. Now, another issue that the world is facing as far as this coronavirus pandemic is concerned is the investigation into where this pandemic actually began. So the World Health Organization has just said that it has not been allowed by China to enter the country and actually investigate where the virus originated. Has Russia made any such demands into the origin of the virus or the spread to every corner of the world?
No, Russia is not making an issue of this. They, as you know, they have a special geopolitical relationship with China, and that may be the reason. But they're just not. Anyway. It does not appear in the evening news. It doesn't seem to be discussed here. They did close the border with China back in January, but there's no sense of blaming China for what's happened.
Right, no sense blaming China, certainly. Fred Weir, thank you so much for joining us at the moment, getting us all the latest updates from Russia, where the Prime Minister himself has now tested positive for COVID-19.